Hi, welcome back. Today on Talk of the Town with Ernie Reinhart, he'll be talking with Chris Hall, a retired fireman and customs officer. They'll talk about some of the amazing, funny, and crazy things he's seen on the job. And that's coming up next on Roy Studio Adventures.
Hello, Chris Hall.
How you doing, Ernie?
Oh, Ernie. All of a sudden it's Ernie. Before it was Ernesto, and now it's Ernie. What is it?
Well, we're friends now.
Okay, I'll take either one. So, Chris, I know you very well. You just go with it, Chris.
Okay.
I know you very well.
He knows me very well.
And so tell the folks, where were you born?
I was born in Fort Erie in 1964. Fort Erie Hospital. Douglas Memorial.
64. Oh, my gosh.
Just a young buck, right?
Yeah. I was born in Niagara Falls in 1945.
There you go.
And came up to Fort Erie in 1980. So you were born in Fort Erie. I love Fort Erie, by the way.
It's a nice town.
And where did you go to school?
I went to General Vanier in public school and Fort Erie Secondary School for high school. I did Niagara College. I did law and security in Niagara College for a couple of years, and then went on my career as a customs officer at the Peace Bridge.
So this always intrigued me. When I was growing up, I would be hanging around with my buddies, and they would say, when I grow up, I want to be a firefighter, a cop. When you were growing up, did you ever think that you were going to be working on the bridge?
No, I didn't. In fact, it was my uncle who was working at the bridge at the time, kind of got me interested in working there. So when I finished high school, I decided to take the law and security course at Niagara for customs and immigration procedures. I worked as a summer student for a couple of years and eventually got on full-time at the bridge and stayed there for 34 years, and the rest is history. Now I'm retired and enjoying it.
Rich McKenzie.
Yes, Rich
Father
McKenzie.
of...
what's his...
Spencer
McKenzie, yes. Really good guitar player, songwriter. Yeah, that kid's going places, for sure.
When Rich would bring Spencer over the house, this was before he'd even picked up a guitar.
Yeah.
And said that he was going to get into music. And that young man, I think he's about 22 years old now, so dedicated to music, is practicing all day, through the day, because he's passionate about it. And he was up for Juno last year.
Yes.
Did you know that?
Yep, I heard that.
Really?
Yes.
Do you have any musical ability?
I've played guitar since I was 11. I've written a few songs, in fact, myself and Roy.
Not Roy Yeager.
Roy Yeager, the one and only.
From Roy's Studio Adventures?
Exactly.
No way.
Yes, we have written.
Wow.
We have written. In fact, the one song we wrote, Shine Again.
I like
You can see that on his YouTube channel.
I promise it won't bring tears to your eyes if you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and like, so you can be notified of upcoming videos.
I like the fact that you took that course in law and spaghetti making.
This lawn security, how you mow a lawn and to keep it secure. Yeah.
Okay, so then
Yes.
how does that prepare you for the fire department?
It didn't. The fire department was a separate interest that I gained from my next door neighbor, who was a retired district chief at Station 1 on Birdie Street, Fred Henderson.
Okay, I don't know any of the boys in Fort Erie.
Okay, so anyway, Fred was our next door neighbor. He was good with all the kids in town. We used to go down the river in his pickup truck and swim and canoe and everything else. He used to always pay a lot of attention to us kids during the summertime. And he was a retired member at the fire station at that time. He said to me, he says, "How would you like to be a member of the fire department?" Because apparently they were canvassing at that time. And at that time in '86, I was 22. And I said, sure. So I put an application in, got accepted, and was there for 26 years between the Station 1 and Station 2 in Fort Erie. And eventually ended up being district chief for the last 10 or so, and retired from there in 2012.
I have to say that Fort Erie has got two beautiful fire halls that I'm aware of. Absolutely beautiful.
Mhm.
And every time I go by him, I think, I'll tell you a little story. We were driving through Fort Erie about a couple of years ago, and a nice station, and the fellow that I was with said, why don't we stop in there? You might know some of the fellows. I said, okay. So we pulled in, and of course the guys were out, and but there was one truck left. So my buddy, whose name shall not be mentioned, said, why don't you hijack the truck? Dead silence. I didn't think it was a good idea either.
Yeah.
He thought it would be hilarious to take the truck and go down the hall, down the road with lights and siren. I said, I don't think so. So
That probably wouldn't have been a good idea.
no, and somehow I recognized it as a bad idea.
Because I'll tell you a story. Back a few years ago at the old Station 4 in Ridgeway, they had their trucks out on the ramp for a response in the middle of the night, and they had the rescue rig sitting there. They had started up, pulled it out, the lights sitting there, it was parked, and the next thing you know, it was gone.
Yeah,
Somebody stole it.
yeah. And that has happened with police cruisers as well.
Ernie?
It wasn't me. No, it was not me. No, but it does happen occasionally, not very.
Yes.
And it's always a
Yeah.
bad idea, no
Yeah.
matter who thinks of it or carries it out.
That'd be a gutsy move. I mean, come on.
It's not gutsy. It's crazy.
It is. I mean, you got a hall full of firefighters, and these guys aren't weaklings, right? And you just walk up into their rescue rig and just joyride down the street with the lights going in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how was your... Now, my son works on the Peace Bridge now, and we get together every Friday morning, and I call it Questions for the Bridge.
Oh.
So I want to know what has transpired every week on the Peace Bridge.
Oh, okay.
And there's always a story.
Yes.
So do you have any stories about the Peace Bridge that you want to share? Keep it clean, Chris.
Like I've said to Roy before, it's like, something happens and it's the wackiest thing you ever thought of in your life, and the next you say to yourself, now I've seen everything,
Yeah.
and 10 minutes later you prove yourself wrong.
Yes.
So there's a lot of stuff that happens. I mean, I've had, wintertime, I worked midnight shifts predominantly. That's how Faber and I really got to be friends. And so I'd be on the line the one night, and this guy comes up, and it's snowing sideways. You can hardly see the car. You see the headlights, and they got those camera readers at each booth, right? Well, he's at the sensor at the very front of the line, way out there, and he stopped dead. I'm thinking, when's this guy coming up? So anyway, I look out, I wave him in, come on up. So he comes up to my booth, and I see it's an Ohio plate, and he looked just like Donald Sutherland as the tank operator. He had the cap on down like this, he had the goggles on, I'm not kidding you, and he had the beard. And he's from Ohio, and I'm going, okay, it's Ohio. You can accept that. So I asked him, where is he from? He told me he was from Ohio. Where are you going? I'm going to Niagara Falls. What purpose? Just to visit, just as a tourist. Okay. It's like 3 a.m. How long you staying? A couple of 3 days. Okay, bring anything in? No. So I said, okay, well, go ahead. After I was done with him asking questions, I was satisfied that he was admissible. And he looks at me, he says, tell me something. I says, sure. The last time I was here was with my parents. It was quite a few years ago. Okay. The guard at the time, we asked, he said that Niagara Falls was closed for renovation.
Oh,
So we turned around and went home.
really?
So he asked me, he says, is it open now? I go, it's open. It's open. It's open. No problem.
Wow.
So, yeah, he was dead serious. You get all kinds of things like, what time is it here in Canada?
I worked in the tourist industry on Clifton Hill for many years, from the time I was 8 years old till the time I went to university every summer.
Yeah.
And people would come in and say things like, what time do they turn the falls off? Or what time do they turn the falls on?
Yes.
I had no idea how the color, they'd have the lights on at night. Had no idea how we had lit up the falls. Or they said they were going to Montreal for a coffee, thinking we can be back in half an hour.
Yeah.
So they had no idea.
Yeah.
But the Peace Bridge is very interesting, as well as firefighting.
Oh, yes.
So what turned you on to music?
When I was a kid, and my dad had friends come over all the time, one of them was Jimmy McDonald. Jimmy McDonald played guitar in a lot of. He played the guitar in his own band. Excuse me. He played guitar at the Legion. He did a lot of stuff, and he was inspirational in me learning to play guitar. I mean, if I watched this guy play his guitar, I was like, wow, I wish I could do that. Here I was, 11 years old, and I got a guitar and amp for Christmas from my parents from Rose Hill Auction.
I've heard of that place.
Yeah. And anyway, I got this electric guitar and a little amp, and away I went. I took guitar lessons with the Ontario Conservatory of Music that was on top above Rossman's. That was 1975. So it was above Rossman's. I took my guitar lessons there for a few years, and then just went on my own way. I played in different with different guys at school. Some of them were Daryl Young, David Holmes, Randy Topazzini, and they later on started their own bands, Off the Wall. They're into Neil Young. Mm-hmm. Okay. Those are the guys that we started with in high school. We played at each other's house in the basements.
Right.
Start my place, go over to Daryl's house, or go over to Dave's place and do this, right? And just jam or whatever.
Do you have any favorite guitars?
Favorite guitars? Of course, it's always guitars I never can get a hold of.
Sure.
The Gibsons are nice. I like the Gibson Les Pauls. I've got a Takamine 12-string I've had since I was 21. That was a present from my parents when I was in 21.
A 12-string?
Yeah, 12-string Takamine acoustic. I still have that.
Now, why would they build... guitars are what, 5 strings, 6 strings?
6 strings.
6? So
Guitar
why would you have a 12-string? Not you, but anybody.
It's the sound. It's the richness of the sound. It's the fullness. When you play a 6-string guitar, it's, you hear the bass notes when you're playing a chord like that. With a 12-string, it's got such a richer tone to it, because your low E is paired up with another E that's up an octave, and then your A and all that, they're always up an octave until you get to the B and the E string, and they're the same. They're just a complement of themselves. Just a copy.
So it's not much of an adjustment to learn how to play it.
Oh no. The next little wider, you're playing the exact same way you would, because the 6 strings, when you got the 12, they're paired together. So you're basically playing like you were playing one string.
Are they more expensive?
12 strings, yeah. There's a lot more to them to, I guess, build or whatever. But I don't think there's a whole bunch of difference in price compared to a 6-string. I mean, you can buy 6-string guitars like Martin's and stuff like that, and pay tens of thousands of dollars for a 6-string guitar. It's because it's made by Martin, or it's made by, it's a specialty thing.
Well, we were in Vienna, Austria, a couple of years ago, and we were in this museum, and that had on display the world's most expensive violin.
Stradivarius.
Yes.
Yes.
And the curator of the museum said that they have a concert every year, and they take this famous violin out of the case and they play it. Mm-hmm. And the reason being is it has to be played.
Yes.
It would deteriorate if it did not. Mm-hmm. So my question is, does that hold true for a guitar? Does it have to be played?
I don't know the answer to that, truthfully.
Well, good night, folks, and we'll see you next time.
I met America. Those guys got some pics off of them, too. They had me pics. There's something about some groups that just throw the pics at you. The one time I was sitting at the counter. I see this tall guy coming in. He looks real familiar. He's got the bushy hair on him. He's got this other guy looking like a bodyguard and some woman with him. He walks up to me, and he's got a British passport. And I'm going, no way. No way. No way. He puts it down. I open it up. Brian May from Queen.
That's a nice nice thing to have.
Yeah.
Happen.
Professor Brian May.
Wow.
That was awesome.
If you had to, we'll go back to your favorite guitarist in different types of music. If you could meet and have a beer with any musician, past or present,
Oh, wow.
This was not going to be easy, Chris. You know that.
David Gilmour.
David Gilmour.
David Gilmour. I like to sit with him and
Really?
yeah.
Why?
I love Pink Floyd. I love all the work they did,
Okay.
all their songs. I love the way he plays that guitar. You know, the riffs and everything else, and he's a
How about
fantastic
this?
musician.
How about this, Chris? Now that you're on a roll, who would you like? Who would you like to meet outside of music? Any famous person, past or present? Anybody? Just you're going to make your wish come true.
Who would I like to meet?
That's what we do here at Roy's Studio Adventures. We do crazy things.
Well, I'm an amateur radio operator as well. And I'm fascinated by any kind of radio, this or radio that. And I think that either Marconi or Tesla, I'd like to sit down with
Oh
them.
wow! Now you're talking.
And sit and listen to what made those wheels turn, what got them to this point. Where did you come from nothing
Yeah,
and then have this?
Tesla especially.
Like world changing, like Tesla with the EC and the generators where you know, he could transmit that anywhere in the world, right? Where Edison was totally DC. It's like you can't go too far with that. So they'd have, his idea was to have a power plant in every town, like in every city block, because
I have a trivia question.
what's that?
They asked Einstein. Actually, they said to him, "Are you the smartest man in the world?" And what did he say?
No,
And who did he say was the smartest?
I can't remember.
Yes, you do. You just said his name. Tesla.
Oh, Tesla, was it? Yeah.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
He said, no, Tesla's the smartest.
Yeah.
Tesla's was not just intelligent, he was off the wall intelligent.
Yeah, he was.
But also, when asked who was the smartest person of all time, who do you think Albert Einstein said?
The smartest
Man of all time. Leonardo
Leonardo da
Da Vinci.
Yeah, true that. Yeah.
was just
Yes.
so smart in so many
He
areas.
was way ahead of his time.
Does any of the classical musicians intrigue you?
Bach is good. I love Bach.
Yeah.
I love Bach stuff. He was like 400 years ahead of his time because he was the acid rock and roller of his time.
If you were, let's say you were just a young buck and you thought you wanted to write, or maybe you did write some songs, how does someone get started in that career? How does he get that song recorded? How does he get it out there? Do they still make records?
Well, you kind of know somebody like this guy, and you have some recording material.
You mean
recording
Roy?
equipment. Yes.
Roy Yeager from Roy's
Yes,
Studio Adventures?
Yes.
What are the odds?
Wow.
Have some recording equipment and have some contacts, and hey, how do you like how this sounds? And
No kidding.
it can just go from there. Yeah.
But if you didn't know someone like Roy Yeager,
You got to know somebody. Right?
really?
Sure. Unless you're a town that you live in, you play around so much in town that people know you, and then you get the word out.
Do they still make records?
records? Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
They-
Vinyl. Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, this has been a blast. And I think that we might do it again.
Sure.
And especially if you write a real knockout song. But you have to come back. You have to promise when you come back, you bring the guitar and we play a couple tunes, and I might even join in. That could be the end of your career.
You never
but
know.
We'll play it by ear.
You never know.
Anyway, Chris, it's been a blast.
Thank you, Ernesto.
And thanks to Roy's Studio Adventures, and to all the listeners, thanks very much.
I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please return to Roy's Studio Adventures for more Talk of the Town with Ernie Reinhart. Let us know what you'd like to see on Talk of the Town in the comments below. Remember, be good to each other, go out and see a local band, and as always, until next time.